Chapter 1064, Demoness. Your cultivation has become stronger. The sun shone brightly in the courtyard, and purple energy emitted in wisps. The blood on the ground dried bit by bit. Jiang Hao, who had fallen to the ground weakly, finally stood up. He sat down cross-legged again. He realized that his hands were bruised from the light fall. It reminded him of his childhood. When he was young, he chopped firewood. He would always injure himself. However, he would also recover very quickly. This time, he did not just injure easily, but it was also hard for him to heal. For a moment, his memory returned to his childhood. His stepmother once dragged him to the backyard and yelled at him that everyone had to contribute to the family if they wanted to live together. He was assigned to chop the firewood. Then, he thought of the day he was sold to the demonic sect. His stepmother had been the one who accepted the money and returned home. At that time, when he was being led by the immortal who had bought him, he wanted to turn around and run. But he had seen his stepmother close the door to the house. He felt sad thinking about all that. He no longer blamed anyone for his life turning out this way. He had done his best with what he was given. He had not given up and continued to work hard to find opportunities to get stronger. However, things did not go according to his wishes. Jiang Hao sat cross-legged and circulated his purple energy to suppress the damage to his body. Misfortune plagued him relentlessly. The only thing he could do was use the heavenly fragrance Dao flower, the primordial heavenly blade, and other divine items to suppress it as much as he could. The days passed very slowly. On the 10th day, Jiang Hao felt as though 10 years had passed. He only had 55 days left. He fell to the ground and spat out a large mouthful of blood. He had no strength in his body at all. No one knew how much pain he was in right now. The Earth Extreme Silent Pearl tried to tear his body apart. His spirit was being devoured by the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl. Jiang Hao lay on the ground and looked at the heavenly fragrance Dao flower in front of him. He felt that his life was really coming to an end. He tried his best to get up and compose himself. He took out all the sacrificial blood that was remaining. Cheng Cho arrived at noon to see him. Jiang Hao let him in. The moment he saw Jiang Hao, Cheng Cho turned pale with fright. "Senior brother, what happened to you?" "It's fine. It's just the effect of seclusion," said Jiang Hao. But Cheng Cho was worried. Although his senior brother did not admit it, Cheng Cho knew that something was wrong. "I don't know what Lord Beast has been plotting with Xiao Li lately, but they have been running around a lot," said Cheng Cho. "Really?" Jiang Hao lowered his head. "It's fine. They know their limits." Then, Cheng Cho mentioned the spirit herb garden and said that new superior-grade spiritual herbs had just arrived. If Jiang Hao was in seclusion and could not make it to the garden, he offered to send it here. Jiang Hao refused. After that, he explained some cultivation issues to Cheng Cho. Jiang Hao explained the changes in the lifeblood refinement technique in great detail. It ended in the evening. "Senior brother, is there anything I can do to help?" Cheng Cho was worried. Jiang Hao thought for a moment. "Can you get me a talisman brush?" In less than 2 hours, an exquisite talisman brush appeared in front of Jiang Hao with other talisman-making tools. Jiang Hao sighed with emotion. Maybe because his life was at its end, he wanted to create talismans before he died. Although it was useless, he still wanted to do something while he still could. After Cheng Cho left, he tried to make talismans but failed. He could not use his spiritual energy, and his hand on the brush trembled. How could he make talismans in this condition? In the days that followed, Jiang Hao circulated the purple energy around him and occasionally tried making talismans. However, he had never succeeded. 5 more days passed by very quickly. It was difficult for him to concentrate on anything at all. Everything seemed to be changing for the worse. In the face of the 3 pearls, everything was useless. However, what bothered him was that the spirit beast had not returned for 5 days. He did not know where it had gone. On the 16th day, the spirit beast returned. It looked dejected. It stood in front of Jiang Hao and handed him a flower that was emitting some life force. "Master, my friends in the underworld told me that this spirit herb can cure all kinds of diseases. They also said you might need it. It can help," said the spirit beast. Jiang Hao fell silent. Then, he smiled. You didn't get caught. This was a sacred medicine. The Heavenly Note sect did have it, but it was exceptionally difficult for anyone to get it unless they stole it. Everybody fears and respects me, said the spirit beast. I'm Lord Beast, after all. Jiang Hao took the flower and did not say anything. He just silently put it away. This flower had no effect on him. Even the sea god pill would be useless to fix what he had. Under the effect of the 3 pearls, everything else was useless. On the 17th day, a red figure appeared under the immortal peach tree. She looked at Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao also looked at her. Greetings, senior. He tried to get up and bow. Hong Yuye looked at him closely. You really are unlucky. Only a little, said Jiang Hao. As soon as he finished speaking, a vast power swept toward him. The power enveloped his body. He felt as though it was dispersing something around him. However, that caused the 3 pearls to react. For a moment, Jiang Hao's body became even more vulnerable. In an instant, the vast force blew Jiang Hao away. He crashed heavily against the wall. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he fell to the ground. He was bleeding profusely. Hong Yuye stood in the distance and watched the scene. He did not move, and his face did not change. Jiang Hao lowered his head and stood up with great difficulty. He bowed. I apologize for troubling you, senior. There was no response from her. She had disappeared. Jiang Hao looked at the spot where she had been standing just moments before in awe. He could finally stand up. He felt better than he was 2 days ago. However, he still could not walk out of the courtyard. Another 15 days passed, and around mid-June, Jiang Hao felt that his body had almost reached its limit. He did not even know how long he could last. However, on that day, he saw a red figure again. You're even more unlucky than before. Hong Yuye sat at the table. Jiang Hao nodded. This time, he found it difficult to even open his mouth to speak. The vast aura enveloped him again. It caused the 3 pearls to react again. However, the vast aura seemed to have changed at that moment. Jiang Hao could not sense it. But this time, it did not send him flying. He felt that his limbs had gained some strength. It was much easier for him to speak. Your cultivation realm has become stronger. Hong Yuye looked at him. Yes. Jiang Hao nodded with a bitter smile. Perhaps it won't be long before I reach the primordial spirit realm. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1065, Absent from the Gathering, 1, Primordial Spirit Realm. Once, Jiang Hao had looked forward to reaching that realm. He was looking forward to advancing further. He was also a candidate for the seat of the top disciple. Unfortunately, he could not display his cultivation at the primordial spirit realm in such a short period. That would be suspicious. Han Ming still needed 2 more years to advance. Therefore, with only about 30 days left, he had no chance at all. Even if he advanced, he would not be a match for the others. After all, he could not even make it up the stairs to his own house, let alone a competition. Hong Yuye had said his cultivation realm had increased. It might be because he was not sent flying like the first time she used her power. Jiang Hao sighed inwardly as he recalled crashing into the wall. The pain had been excruciating because he was already injured so badly. He felt as if his internal organs were ripping out of his body. Hong Yuye had looked at Jiang Hao and chuckled. Then, she disappeared. He felt some changes in his body, so he appraised himself. Status: the Heaven Extinction Gu Poison and Hong Yuye's One Heart Palm are simultaneously involved in the Karma Vortex of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl, and the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl. If you don't do anything, your body won't be able to endure it after 24 days. By circulating the primordial purple energy and using a divine item, you could make it to 49 days. 49 days. Jiang Hao was surprised. It should have been 32 days by his estimate. He had gotten an extra 17 days. Jiang Hao thought about it. Perhaps this was because of Hong Yuye's power. With less bad luck on his body, he could live a little longer. Without thinking much about it, Jiang Hao looked at the table and saw a pot of tea. He took a sip. It was just ordinary tea leaves. He suddenly remembered that he still had a lot of good tea. However, he did not use it right away. He was a little reluctant to waste it. After drinking his tea, Jiang Hao sat back down in front of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. He looked outside his courtyard gate. He suddenly felt like visiting the lawless tower. Perhaps he could find a way to buy himself some time there. Jiang Hao smiled bitterly. It was too far away. It took him enormous effort just to walk a short distance, let alone fly to the lawless tower. He shook his head and did not think too much about it. It might also trigger the lawless tower in a bad way. He felt better, so Jiang Hao decided to walk out of the courtyard. He sat by the river and looked at the water in a daze. Back then, he had chosen this place because of the river. He had built a wooden house for himself and settled down. On the day he reached the Foundation Establishment realm, he had obtained some divine abilities. The first thing he had appraised with his newly obtained daily appraisal ability had been the wooden house. Jiang Hao suddenly felt nostalgic. "Junior brother Jiang," said a voice from behind. He turned around and saw senior sister Leng Tian. She had a scar on her face. "It's been too long, senior sister," said Jiang Hao with a smile. When he made talismans, he could always count on her to buy them. He had not seen her in a long time. It was not only because he did not go to the market, but also because she rarely bought talismans these days. "Why do you look so pale?" she asked. Jiang Hao had taken a look at it in the water, but his face was not as pale as it was before. Anyone could tell that he did not have long to live. "It's just some small illness," said Jiang Hao. "Congratulations on reaching the Golden Core realm, senior sister." Senior sister Leng Tian was already in the early Golden Core realm. She was also a pill refiner and an alchemist. "Compared to you, I pale in comparison," said Leng Tian. "You are currently a candidate for the seat of the top disciple. I really didn't expect my junior who used to sell talismans from a stall in the market would go so far." Leng Tian sighed. Jiang Hao chuckled. "I was just lucky." This time, he had run out of luck. "Junior brother Jiang, you are really humble." Leng Tian looked at Jiang Hao. "Have you made any talismans lately?" Jiang Hao nodded. "Only a few." He was very curious if senior sister Leng Tian still had the talisman inheritance that she had narrowly escaped death to obtain. "I want to buy some talismans from you," Leng Tian said. Jiang Hao nodded and gave her some talismans needed for the Golden Core realm. Leng Tian took out a box. It was indeed an inheritance talisman. "Junior brother, are you interested in this?" Leng Tian asked. "Yes." Jiang Hao nodded as he took it. "I do. The price will be about the same as before." 3,000 will do, Leng Tian said. Jiang Hao handed her 10,000 spirit stones. Leng Tian was surprised. "I can resell it," Jiang Hao said. Leng Tian understood. Jiang Hao was no longer the same as before, and he could sell it for a better price. He gave her a little more because he would be able to earn that much from the talisman in the future. There was another reason. Leng Tian was already at the Golden Core realm. It was important to choose one's allies carefully. "When you become a top disciple, can I still count on you if I want to buy talismans?" asked Leng Tian teasingly. "Of course," Jiang Hao said. If he was still alive then, he would obviously make talismans to sell them. He did not say that out loud. After senior sister Leng Tian left, Jiang Hao lowered his head to look at the inheritance talisman. This talisman was slightly different from the previous ones. This wasn't an inheritance talisman at all. It was likely an inheritance that had been long abandoned. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1066, Absent from the Gathering, 2, it was worthless. However, he still accepted it at a high price. The previous talismans that he had bought from her had benefited him greatly. Paying 10,000 spirit stones was not that much. He still had 190,000 spirit stones. He could not possibly spend it all. Taking advantage of the fact he was feeling better, Jiang Hao asked the spirit beast to call Cheng Chou and began to explain the cultivation method to him. Halfway through his explanation, Jiang Hao sensed that Cheng Chou, who had received Xiao Li's resources, was a little anxious. Jiang Hao laughed. Don't be nervous. Take your time. Sometimes, the more nervous you are, the easier it is to lose your way. Even if we don't have much time left, we can't rush it. Calm down. An opportunity may appear at any time. At that time, it will be time for you to advance to the late stage. One step at a time. These efforts will help you overcome your difficulties. Jiang Hao stopped talking. He didn't know if he was talking to Cheng Chou or himself. He also wanted hope, but he could not find it. The only thing that had been helpful to him was Hong Yuye's attack on him. Cheng Chou nodded. He had been working hard and learning to calm himself more. Jiang Hao nodded. Cheng Chou was indeed very hardworking, and he was a relatively calm person. There was still hope for his golden core realm, especially since he had a lot of resources. Jiang Hao looked away after Cheng Chou left. When he ended up dead, the pearls would erupt. Logically speaking, there was no point in doing anything. If someone suppressed the 3 pearls, Cheng Chou and the others would have a chance at survival. Although hope was slim, he had to find someone. Shaking his head, Jiang Hao stood up and tried to leave. However, he suddenly felt the stone tablet vibrate. He took it out and saw that there was a gathering. It's been more than a month. It's indeed time for the gathering. Every time something big happened, there was a gathering. The matter of the heavenly extreme dream pearl was considered a huge matter. The gathering was a bit late, but it was finally here. Leaving the human emperor's palace meant that everything was over. Putting away the tablet, Jiang Hao sat back down near the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. I'm a little bored. In the past, he always kept himself busy. At this time, he did not know how to keep himself occupied. He had always wanted to create talismans, but today, he had obtained a damaged inheritance talisman, which made him a little curious. He would appraise it tomorrow. In the past, he had often asked himself what he would do if he was about to die. At that time, he had thought of things that he had never done before. He wanted to visit places he had never seen before. However, when he was at his end, he did not know what he actually wanted to do at this time. There was nothing he could do. Senior brother Jiang, are you home? A small head popped in from the gate. Yes, Jiang Hao said softly. Xiao Li walked in and tiptoed to Jiang Hao's side. Senior brother, why are you sitting on the ground? She asked curiously. My mother said if you get dirt on your body, bugs will bother you. Jiang Hao smiled and nodded. He sat down on the chair under the peach tree and said, What else did your mother say? Mother told me to always follow your lead. You are my elder brother, said Xiao Li. Jiang Hao was puzzled. Are you planning to leave me, senior brother Jiang? Xiao Li asked carefully. Why do you ask that? Jiang Hao asked curiously. I had a dream, Xiao Li said. Do you often dream? Jiang Hao asked Xiao Li. Not usually. Xiao Li shook her head. What did you dream about? Jiang Hao was curious. Xiao Li was a true dragon. If she had a dream, it would be something important. I dreamed that someone was trying to teach me, but they kept hitting me on the hand, said Xiao Li. Was there something wrong with the dream? Jiang Hao felt that Xiao Li's memory was coming back slowly. There's a problem. Xiao Li was scared. A few days before my parents passed away, I had the same dream. Then, I had that dream last night. I feel like another of my family members is going to leave. The only family I have is you. So, are you leaving me too, senior brother? Xiao Li's eyes were wet with tears. Jiang Hao said softly, maybe not. Really? Xiao Li looked happier. Jiang Hao nodded and did not say anything else. Are you sure? Xiao Li asked again. Jiang Hao smiled and nodded. After that, Xiao Li left in satisfaction. Jiang Hao felt helpless. He was curious about Xiao Li's dream. If it was really as she said, it meant someone was at death's door. Xiao Li's power was not ordinary. Her disposition as a dragon seemed to give her a warning before something happened. Jiang Hao did not think too much about it. He just sat there and waited. The sky slowly darkened. The spirit beast returned. It told him that a man-eating woman had visited the spirit herb garden. Jiang Hao knew that the beast was talking about Ming Yi. Senior sister Ming Yi still had a divine soul in her. He had not visited her to check her situation yet. There were still many things he needed to do, but he was unable to do anything at all. After that, the spirit beast told him that Miao Tinglian had asked if Jiang Hao was out of seclusion yet. She wanted to talk with him about a particularly suitable junior sister who had just defected from the Sunset Immortal sect and joined the Cliff of Broken Hearts. She was waiting for Jiang Hao to come out of the seclusion so that she could introduce him to her. "Master, when are you coming out of seclusion?" asked the spirit beast. "I feel like she is good for you, and my friends in the underworld agree too." Jiang Hao glanced at it but did not say anything. He just continued to wait. In an inn in a big city, Baizhu laid many curses around the area and then lay on the bed. She had waited so long for this gathering. She wanted to understand the whole situation and ask about Jing's condition. This time, Jing was at the center of everything. He definitely knew what was going on. This way, Gui did not need to keep guessing. That was the good thing about the gathering. No matter how far away they were, they could always get some key information from the gathering. At midnight, Baizhu prepared herself. She could not wait to attend the gathering. She felt that she had crossed the boundless starry sky and landed under the starlight. However, as soon as she entered, she frowned. Usually, they could immediately see the number of people in the gathering. Other than Senior Dan Yuan, there would always be 5 people in the gathering: Xing, Liu, Jing, Zhong, and herself. But this time, she did not see Jing. Apart from Senior Dan Yuan, there were only 4 people present. The gathering began, and everyone greeted Senior Dan Yuan. Obviously, everyone was curious to know why Jing was absent. "Looks like friend Jing is tied up," said Dan Yuan with a smile. After that, he asked everyone if they had any problems with their cultivation. This time, no one had any questions. After all, they were all very curious about the heavenly extreme dream pearl. If everything was under control, why was Jing absent? If the situation had gotten out of control, what were they supposed to do after this? Everyone instinctively looked at Gui. She looked helpless. "Don't look at me. I don't know anything," she thought. "It seems that everyone's cultivation path is smooth," said Dan Yuan. "Gui, are you still in the south?" "Yes." Gui nodded. "Someone has sent a task. You need to deliver something, and it's related to the heavenly extreme dream pearl," said Dan Yuan. "It seems that only Gui can do that right now." "Task related to the heavenly extreme dream pearl?" Gui lowered her head in thought. She thought of Jing, and how to contact him. She had to go to the Heavenly Note sect to find Jiang Hao. It was not that difficult, but it would be dangerous. "When will you give it to me?" she asked. "It'll take some time. You can deliver it whenever you're free," said Dan Yuan. Gui nodded. She felt that this task would not warrant a huge reward. Dan Yuan's next words surprised her. "After you complete the mission, I'll get you a snow god pill," Dan Yuan said. Gui was stunned. What kind of thing did he need her to deliver? After that was the trading segment. Gui felt that the transaction process was very long. She wanted to ask about the heavenly extreme dream pearl. She gritted her teeth and waited for the trading segment to end fast so she could talk. What was wrong with the world? It felt like things were deliberately trying to ruin the life of an 18-year-old girl. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1067, The Power of the Whole Sect. 1. I've already received the things from overseas. I'll send them over in a while, said Zhong to Gui. The latter nodded. It was better to end this matter as soon as possible. Those people were not to be trifled with. Gui had also obtained the item she wanted, and her transaction with Xing ended. Then, she asked about the Saint Bandits. Recently, the Saint Bandits have headed south. They came out of the Dragon Cave. There should be a lot of gains this time, Liu said. Through someone from the Clear Sky School, I have found a way to contact them. It might be useful. Gui was overjoyed. What do you need, friend Liu? There's no hurry, Liu said softly. Some things can't be rushed. Let's talk about it after we figure out the heavenly extreme dream pearl. Indeed, Xing said. Jing did not participate today. Friend Gui, do you know what might have happened? I don't know very much, said Gui. When the human emperor's palace returned, the two seniors immediately sensed that a third person had attacked. That person had played a huge role in suppressing the new world. That was why the heavenly extreme dreamland pearl didn't explode. After a day or two, the two seniors discovered something else. This matter concerns devastating effects for the southern region. What is it? Zhong asked. They said that the purple star has dimmed and that a great calamity is coming, Gui said and sighed. That was all she knew at the time. The people present were quite surprised. Everyone knew that purple energy was related to Jing. If purple star had dimmed, did it mean Jing could no longer seal the pearls? Did that also mean the one who had made a move was Jing? That made sense. Based on the information they had, the situation seemed very bad. Xing thought for a moment and suddenly remembered the task that Senior Dan Yuan had mentioned. In other words, Senior Dan Yuan might have already known about this matter in advance. Or maybe Senior Dan Yuan knew powerful people who had known about it and made a move. They all looked at Senior Dan Yuan. Senior Dan Yuan smiled. I don't really know. Some people might have gotten wind of it. It just so happened that they had a task to assign. What's wrong, Senior? Gui asked. The others also wanted to know. Karma, Dan Yuan said softly. Jing gave the heavenly fate misfortune pearl to someone else for safekeeping, right? It's just that, something must have happened. The three pearls together must have trapped Jing somehow. If that's the case, Jing will find it very difficult to escape. Then the thing I need to deliver, Gui was nervous. Senior Dan Yuan smiled. Well, it might help but not as much. But I might be wrong in my speculation. What if the four immortal sects join forces to help? Xing asked. That depends on Gui. Dan Yuan looked at Gui. Why me? Gui felt anxious. No one had any news of Jing, and she was the only one present in the south. She was able to get there faster than others. She might be able to find out more at the Heavenly Note sect. However, everyone was not as hopeful. 3 pearls, it was useless. No one had the power or the ability to tackle something like that, especially those who did not have great fortune. Jiang Hao sat beside the heavenly fragrant Dao flower and sighed. He looked at the stone tablet. He wanted to go in. Even though he had recovered, he was unable to enter. His condition was awful. He could not do anything. However, he could still appraise the talisman inheritance he had recently bought. Simple Phantom Inheritance Talisman. Dip a brush in water. At midnight, when your mind is clear, begin to draw the first half of the rune. You can receive the inheritance and comprehend the Simple Phantom Inheritance Talisman. This is a treasure that Leng Tian and her seniors obtained at the risk of their lives. Simple Phantom Inheritance Talisman? Jiang Hao was surprised. It could actually be used. He had thought that this was a useless talisman. He had never thought that it would be useful. But he had no strength to make the talisman. At that moment, the spirit beast rolled around on the branch of the tree and fell with a thud to the ground. It still slept soundly. A thought crossed Jiang Hao's mind. He could not make the talisman, but the spirit beast might be able to do it. Jiang Hao did not know if its hands were useful for something like that. He wondered if the beast could use the clear and pure heart. The spirit beast had many divine abilities, so it should be able to use it. After waking the spirit beast, Jiang Hao instructed it to pick up the talisman brush and hold it. Then, he told it to draw the talisman. The first attempt failed. Based on his experience, Jiang Hao guided the spirit beast even after a few failed attempts. It failed consecutively for 7 days. The spirit beast did not succeed. Another 7 days passed. Jiang Hao's face paled with effort, but the spirit beast did not succeed. Jiang Hao was not in a hurry. A few days passed, and it was already early July. Jiang Hao still had about 30 days left. He was leaning against the wall and could no longer sit cross-legged on the ground. However, he still instructed the spirit beast. The spirit beast was in a good mood. It felt confident that it could succeed. Just as it was about to draw the last stroke, the spirit beast suddenly fell to the ground. Its face was bruised, and it was unconscious. "It seems like you have a lot of free time," Hong Yuye said and appeared in front of Jiang Hao. He was surprised and struggled to stand up. After a long time, he managed to stand up and bow. Hong Yuye was in her red immortal dress, but her gaze was icy cold. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1068, The Power of the Whole Sect, 2. It was obvious that she was displeased. "Don't the people around you think that something might be wrong with you?" asked Hong Yuye as she sat down under the peach tree. "Not really." Jiang Hao lowered his head. He had not seen anyone yet. Hong Yuye snapped her fingers. A terrifying force attacked him, and Jiang Hao felt as if his entire body was torn apart. He thought he would be thrown backward, but he only staggered a few steps back. It was still difficult to hold his ground. If the force had been stronger, he would have fallen to the ground. "I hope you can give me some peace and quiet next time," said Hong Yuye and disappeared from the spot. Jiang Hao thought for a moment. He felt a little better. He appraised his condition. Status: the Heaven Extinction Gu Poison and Hong Yuye's One Heart Palm are simultaneously involved in the karma vortex of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl, and the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl. If you do nothing, your body will be unable to withstand it after 20 days. If you circulate the primordial purple energy and keep a divine item close, you can withstand it for 44 days. 44 days, Jiang Hao lowered his head and thought for a moment. He circulated the purple energy around him. 3 days later, the spirit beast finally created a simple phantom inheritance talisman. Jiang Hao felt pleased. "Master, my friends in the underworld do respect and help me. In the future, when you make this thing, you just need to say my name, and you can do it in an instant," said the spirit beast. Jiang Hao looked at it but did not say anything. Instead, he took the talisman. This was an ordinary talisman. At the very least, he had thought it would not be this bad. He felt that his talent at talisman making was not as mediocre as he thought. He appraised the talisman. This was the first time he had seen this talisman, so he did not know how to use it. Inferior grade phantom talisman, it can record one's aura and state. The longer the spiritual energy is circulated, the easier it is for the state to be destroyed. It can be maintained for up to 1 day after use. A wisp of spiritual energy or fresh blood can be used to activate it. Looking at the feedback, Jiang Hao felt that Senior Sister Leng Tian was his lucky charm. Many times, Senior Sister Leng Tian had delivered extraordinary talismans to him. The talismans she had sold to him had saved his life many times. His condition was a bit better, and he could figure something out. The most important thing was for the spirit beast to create similar talismans as soon as possible to record his current state. Jiang Hao did not feel as weak as before. 2 weeks later, around mid-July, Jiang Hao felt himself getting weaker. He had started reading books to find a solution to his issues. He asked the spirit beast to get them for him. If he could find some ancient records shedding light on his condition, he could take it from there. Unfortunately, he found nothing. The books in the entire sect did not have any record of a possible condition. However, he seemed to have lived for 63 days after the onset of his condition. He took that as a good sign. Hong Yuye appeared once again. This time, she looked at him with interest. "Have you been making talismans lately?" "Yeah. I wanted to sell them to make some spirit stones so that I can buy tea for you, Senior," said Jiang Hao. Although there were still 30 days left, his condition was not as good as before. "The quality of your talisman is really poor," she said. Hong Yuye pointed at the table and asked Jiang Hao to make some tea. Jiang Hao did not dare hesitate. He used the half-moon blade as a walking stick to reach the table. Without hesitation, he brewed September Spring. The tea this time might not be as good, said Jiang Hao as he brewed it. Although your body is shrouded in misfortune, you still managed to stay awake, said Hong Yuye. What's your cultivation realm? Peak of the Golden Core realm, Jiang Hao said. Hong Yuye nodded. When will you be able to escape your misfortune? Hong Yuye asked. I don't know. I apologize for the inconvenience, senior, said Jiang Hao as he poured her a cup of tea. I'll do my best to serve you. After that, he prepared a cup for himself and drank the tea. Hong Yuye looked indifferent, and it was impossible to tell whether she was happy or angry. What are you looking at? Hong Yuye suddenly raised her eyebrows. Jiang Hao lowered his head. I was just trying to see if you were satisfied with the tea. What if I'm not satisfied with it? Asked Hong Yuye with a smile. Then, it's my fault, Jiang Hao said. What price will you pay for it? Hong Yuye raised her hand. In an instant, a vast power erupted. Jiang Hao felt as if an endless wave of power was drowning him. He could not breathe. It was difficult for him to open his eyes. When the pressure disappeared, Jiang Hao realized that Hong Yuye was gone. Jiang Hao appraised his condition again. Status: the Heaven Extinction Gu Poison and Hong Yuye's One Heart Palm are simultaneously involved in the Karma Vortex of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl, and the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl. If you do nothing, your body will be unable to withstand it after 15 days. If you circulate the primordial purple energy and keep a divine item close, you can withstand it for 38 days. Jiang Hao chuckled bitterly. He tried not to think about it. Instead, he took out the 3 pearls and began to seal them. He could not find a solution yet. He could only wait for his death. Then, the pearls would explode. He had a feeling that the karma vortex would erupt along with it. At the 100 Flowers Lake, Hong Yuye sat in the pavilion. She coughed softly. A trace of red appeared on the back of her hand. Her face turned even paler. However, it quickly returned to its normal complexion. In the afternoon, a white shadow landed outside the pavilion. So? Hong Yuye asked softly. I have some news. Baiji lowered her head respectfully. Where? North. I don't have the exact location yet, said Baiji. The sect master was different from before. That worried Baiji. The north? Hong Yuye asked. Yes. Baiji nodded. Hong Yuye was silent for a long time. Baiji did not dare to raise her head. When the wind blew from afar, Hong Yuye's voice sounded again. What about the other one? We're still looking, Baiji said immediately. Hong Yuye nodded. Put everything else aside. Gather all the people in the south above the Golden Core realm and find out everything. Yes, Baiji said respectfully. Go ahead, Hong Yuye said. After that, Baiji left. When she returned to the White Moon Lake, she felt a chill. The sect master told her to put everything aside and find those 2 things. One was too far away in the north, so the focus was on the other. Although she did not know why, she had to find it as soon as possible. After hesitating for a moment, she came up with a double-sided plan. She asked everyone to put aside their missions and search for the divine items as soon as possible. The other plan was to gather experts and resources to activate the Heavenly Essence Soul Modeling Mirror. Using a divine item to find another divine item was a good move. When she gave the order, the entire sect was in an uproar. However, it was not that huge of a deal. They were just trying to find some items. The branch masters were a little shocked that Elder Baiji intended to use the Heavenly Essence Soul Modeling Mirror again. That was bad news. If it was not an emergency, she would not use it. It had been used twice just recently. Both times, there had been impending doom on the horizon. Elder Baiji, what is it this time? Asked a woman from the misty cloud peak. Baiji looked at her. We need those things. It's a life and death situation. It was just like last time. If Elder Baiji had not decisively activated the Heavenly Essence Soul Modeling Mirror, the Heavenly Note sect might have already been destroyed. The others wondered if Elder Baiji had surpassed the sect master at this point. Let's begin, said Baiji. Don't delay. Meanwhile, Baiju was waiting for the treasure to arrive. She waited for a long time, but no one arrived. She had 2 tasks now. One was to deliver a letter, and another was to find someone to deliver something. The first task was a little difficult. She had not gotten the letter yet. Fortunately, she had some information about whom to deliver it to, so it was okay. In any case, she had to deliver the letter first. It might be difficult to find that person, but she could manage it. In a few days, she received news that he was not too far away. "Auntie Chow, let's go." "Princess, why are you in a rush these days?" "We are young right now. We need to brave the waves. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1069, Striving for Radiance Among All Beings. 1. In the south, the Hidden Cloud Prefecture was connected to the Clearfire Prefecture. In the beautiful mountain forest, a young man held a long sword and fought while trying to retreat. There were some uniformed people attacking him. "Heavenly Note Fiend, you will die today," roared an angry man. A spell technique surged in his hand to attack the young man before him. "You're a beast. How could you attack everyone in the village, including children? I thought you were different, but you are from a demonic sect." "I invited a wolf into my house," said a woman. Chu Chuan pushed the person back. "I didn't do anything wrong. I told you that they weren't ordinary villagers at all. They were pure evil in disguise. If it weren't for me, you would have died long ago." "Evil in disguise? How can you be so sure?" asked a young man. "You saw their corpses. They were human. There was nothing wrong with them. That's because you interfered and let evil escape," Chu Chuan shouted. "Have you thought that you were the one blinded by evil and ended up killing everyone? You think too highly of yourself. You have a demonic heart. You never even considered the consequences of your decision. Who gave you the authority to decide the life and death of 100 people? You might be the same evil trying to trick us," said the woman. Chu Chuan was speechless. His sword had warned him. Senior brother Jiang had given him that sword. It would never trick him. "What if you are the one blinded by evil? You use that as an excuse to kill indiscriminately. Have you ever thought that you might be wrong?" asked the woman. She was the one who had brought Chu Chuan to the village. In the end, something disastrous happened. Chu Chuan lowered his head. He pushed back the people and fled. He was very fast and had a treasure that could teleport him away in seconds. It was not difficult for him to escape. When he appeared under a huge rock, the woman's words rang in his mind. "Was I really wrong about the whole thing?" he thought. He had come all this way. He was always fearless because he thought he was doing the right thing. What if I was wrong? He was shaken. If he had really made a mistake, that would mean he had killed many innocent people. Chu Chuan felt defeated. He felt that he was not good enough. Maybe he had made bad decisions all along, and other people had suffered for it. 3 days later, the people found him again. Chu Chuan did not want to face them. The only thing he could do was escape. It was not that he could not beat them, but he felt a doubt growing. "Am I wrong?" He looked up at the night sky. "Yes, you are," said a voice. Chu Chuan was shocked. He turned around and saw 2 people walking toward him. One looked like an ordinary non-cultivator, but the other person's cultivation realm was much higher than his. There was no doubt that these 2 were very powerful experts. Chu Chuan did not dare to provoke them. "Greetings, seniors. I don't know where I went wrong," he said. "A golden core expert?" Xiao Yi looked at Chu Chuan in surprise. "Just a golden core cultivator, not an expert in any way," said Bai Zhu. Xiao Yi nodded. Chu Chuan did not understand what they were talking about. Was he really an expert in their eyes? "I don't know where you went wrong," Bai Zhu said. She was lucky that there was a teleportation array nearby. She had reached here fast. It meant her luck was still intact, which also meant that danger followed her everywhere. "Then, why did you say I was wrong, senior?" asked Chu Chuan. "When you doubt yourself, even if you do something right, you'll always feel like you did something wrong," said Bai Zhu. Chu Chuan was a little surprised. He needed a little validation. He just wanted someone to tell him he was on the right path. He was no longer confident in himself. Aren't you curious why I'm here? Baizhu sat opposite Chu Chuan. She picked up the food that was laid out on the ground. I put aside saving the South for now and arrived here to give you something. To give me something? Chu Chuan was confused. He did not ask about the saving the South comment. Baizhu took a bite of the food and took out a letter. Someone asked me to give this to you. A letter? Chu Chuan was puzzled. He wondered who had written to him. Yes. As for who it is from, I think you'll figure it out after reading it, she said. Open it. It felt like she wanted to look at the contents of the letter too. Senior, you haven't looked at it? Chu Chuan asked. Maybe I did. Maybe I'm the one who wrote it. Baizhu smiled. Then, why do you look like you are dying to see what's inside? Chu Chuan felt that this senior was a little strange. It's normal for an 18-year-old girl to be curious about things, Baizhu said with a smile. Chu Chuan was speechless. Are you really 18? He did not dare say that aloud. Then, he opened the letter. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1070, Striving for Radiance Among All Beings, 2. The first sentence was, you just keep on making waves. Chu Chuan felt excited to see the words. His eyes reddened with unshed tears. It was as though being told to continue with whatever he was doing because he was on the right path. The corners of his mouth twitched. You just keep making waves and striving for radiance among all beings. With each step you take, the world widens by millions of miles, and your gaze encompasses the 4 seas. Others don't even dare to think, much less venture on a journey you have started. Chu Chuan knew the letter was from senior brother Jiang. His senior brother had sent the letter to give him hope and encouragement. That's right. I want to make this trip so that others can marvel at the path that they never dared to take. I don't need their approval. What I want is to follow my own path. I don't walk the path of an immortal or a demonic sect. I walk on my own. I want the world to look back and be in awe of my willpower. When I look back, I'll have the confidence of knowing that I shone brighter than anyone else. Chu Chuan stood up. The power in his body began to boil wildly. The change surprised Baizhu. Was the letter that powerful? It was as if he had eaten a power pill that gave him new energy. I thought there were only a few sentences in the letter. Qiao Yi was confused. The energy of youth, Baizhu said emotionally. The next day, Chu Chuan stood where he was. He no longer thought of escaping. He deliberately leaked his aura and waited for the people to arrive in pursuit. In just a moment, a group of people surrounded him. Demon, you won't be able to escape this time, roared a young man. I'm not running away, said Chu Chuan. Do you want to die? No. I just want you to know that I was never wrong. Then, whose fault is it that everyone else is dead? Ours. No. You're not wrong either. It's just that we are different. We see things from different perspectives. It doesn't matter who is right or wrong. Then, what matters? The important thing, for me, is to walk this path that I have chosen. It's natural for you to not understand. You don't even dare to give me the benefit of the doubt. That is not my fault. I'll remember my senior brother's words and walk my own path to fight for all living beings. In an instant, a great battle erupted. This time, Chu Chuan's blood boiled. He was no longer confused. Every move he made was filled with determination. After a short while, everyone fell to the ground. Only Chu Chuan was left standing. He looked up at the sky. I won't kill you. I hope you look back at this moment and remember me. In the future, my name will shake the entire southern region, and it will last for 10,000 years. With that, he put away his sword and left. The people looked at Chu Chuan in shock. Such a person could not be trapped in this small place. TSK, Baizhu sighed. I really want to give him a jade pendant and tie him to my small workshop. Then, why don't you? Qiao Yi asked. Because he needs to follow his own path. He has his own future to make. It'll be of no help to him. I hope he can go far enough, said Baiju with a smile. Princess, aren't you afraid that he will surpass you one day? Afraid? I'm the #1 genius of the royal family. If it's really that easy to surpass me, can I really be called a genius? Besides, there are peerless geniuses in this world. Many people have already surpassed me in strength. This one doesn't feel as powerful yet. If he does surpass me, he'll be just another genius who is more powerful than me. I may be young, but I'm not petty, said Baiju and smiled. Jiang Hao looked at the talismans and sighed with emotion. The spirit beast was extremely pleased with itself. It felt that it was finally getting the respect it deserved. It could create talismans with a single stroke. However, the quality was as bad as ever. There was no improvement at all. Jiang Hao could barely use it. The use of the Phantom Inheritance Talisman was to record his current state and then hide it. The effect of this talisman was to conceal the weakened state. Jiang Hao's condition was too bad. If he did not conceal it, everyone would know he did not have much time left. There was no need for the others to know. Otherwise, it would bring him trouble. Time passed quickly, and he was left with only 29 days. Hong Yuye appeared again and attacked him. He got a little more days after that. 34. Another 7 days passed. He had only 28 days. Hong Yuye visited him again. After she used her power, he got 30 days. Around early August, Jiang Hao sat near the heavenly fragrance Dao flower and leaned against the wall. Although he looked like he was in good condition, he had not been able to stand up. Aren't you tired of sitting all the time? Hong Yuye asked. Jiang Hao turned and saw her red and white figure there. Her long hair swayed in the wind. The weather in August should have been hot, but the wind carried a coolness to it. It made people feel relaxed and happy. Greetings, Senior, Jiang Hao said respectfully. When he was always busy, he often felt like taking a break to just sit and do nothing all day. But he wanted to stand up and run about at this time. People only realized the importance of something when it was gone. Some people spent an entire lifetime wanting to move around freely. In that instant, Jiang Hao recalled Long Tian's words. He had shown him a woman with disabled legs who just wanted to be able to walk again. Nothing would have made her happier than being able to do that. And he, Jiang Hao, had stopped Long Tian from helping that woman. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1071, Striving for Radiance Among All Beings, 3. Jiang Hao felt that if someone stopped a good person from saving him, he might hate that person too. Jiang Hao shook his head with a bitter smile. He had worked hard for so many years, but he was still just an ordinary cultivator. Hong Yuye pointed at the chair across from her. Jiang Hao got up with difficulty and walked toward it. Finally, he made it to the table. However, just as he sat down, he lost his balance and almost fell down. Fortunately, he grabbed the armrest on the chair. He could not stay on his feet. Senior, what kind of tea do you want? Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuye looked at him but did not say anything. He chose September spring. He still had a bit of that left. Hong Yuye drank the tea. Do you have anywhere you want to go? Jiang Hao thought for a moment. He wanted to go and visit his childhood place, but it might have already been demolished. There was no point in going back. Where else could he go? There was nowhere else to go. Maybe the Lawless Tower? He could go and try to find a solution there. Senior, do you think there will be any effect if I go to the Lawless Tower? Jiang Hao asked. Only one way to find out, Hong Yuye said. Jiang Hao chuckled. It was useless. If it was really useful, she would have already told him to go there. There was no need to go through so much trouble. Do you have any other place in mind besides the Lawless Tower? Hong Yuye asked. Jiang Hao was in a daze. In the end, he shook his head. You just need to ask for help. Many people will turn up, said Hong Yuye. Senior, you must be joking. Who would believe a golden core cultivator? Jiang Hao said. Even if they did believe me, I don't think anyone can spread the news to the immortal sects. Besides, there isn't enough time. There was another reason. When he died, the pearls would explode, and it would be disastrous. Hong Yuye would definitely find someone to suppress the pearls. However, she did not offer to take him to the immortal sects. That meant there was no solution in the immortal sects. If Hong Yuye did not have a solution for this, what was the point of contacting anyone? How old are you? Hong Yuye asked. 43, Jiang Hao said. Not young anymore, Hong Yuye said. Jiang Hao nodded. He was not young anymore. He was in his 40s. He never thought about it before. Hong Yuye tapped his forehead with her hand and went upstairs. That surprised Jiang Hao. She did not return. What surprised Jiang Hao even more was that she did not disappear like she usually did. From early August to early September, she always tapped on his forehead for some reason. After that, she did it once every 2 days till mid-September. Jiang Hao appraised himself. He realized that there were only 15 days left. If he did nothing, he would die in 8 days. He felt weak and exhausted. He felt like he would collapse at any moment. When he opened his eyes, everything he saw was blurry. He could no longer use the universe in a palm technique to seal the pearls. He was reaching his limit. Even if Hong Yuye helped him stall for time, he would not last long. In the next month, Hong Yuye appeared once every 3 days. Around early October, Jiang Hao appraised himself. There were only 5 days left. Even if Hong Yuye helped him, he would have 8 days at most. Am I going to die? At that moment, Xiao Li woke up from a nightmare. Tears streamed down her face. That confused her. Why am I crying? She mumbled. Something must have happened to senior brother Jiang. I have to find him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1072, Borrowing Power from the Great. The stars shifted in front of Lawless Tower. Baiji, who had been imbuing power to the heavenly essence soul modeling mirror, opened her eyes. She broke out into a cold sweat. It was as if she had just woken up from a nightmare. What happened? She looked up at the sky. At that moment, the sky seemed clear. There was no suspicious aura around her. There is no problem, so why do I feel so flustered? Is it because my cultivation hasn't been stable recently? It shouldn't be. Looks like something big is about to happen. She looked at the heavenly essence soul modeling mirror. Was this the reason why the sect master had asked her to find the things fast? As an immortal, the fact that she was in such a state meant that the situation was almost out of control. It was beyond her understanding. If she did not hurry, things would turn disastrous. Don't waste any more time. Don't hide anything, or you'll regret it. Her voice echoed through the mirror. The aura of an immortal shook the surroundings. No one dared to underestimate her. In the hidden cloud prefecture in the south, Baiju felt restless. She did not have much time. Why hasn't the treasure reached my hands yet? She was very anxious. She thought she would have found them already. Could it be that he doesn't know where I am? Baiju thought to herself. The trading process outside the gathering was not easy. Senior Dan Yuan had not explained it clearly, so she did not know how long she was supposed to wait. In the beginning, she thought it would fall into her hands soon enough, so she made her way to the hidden cloud prefecture. They were only a day or two away from the Heavenly Note sect. If they were lucky, they would arrive on the same day. However, it was useless no matter how close they were. They might end up dead. There was a possibility that the danger was no longer in the south. However, no one could be sure. Princess, are you in a hurry? Qiao Yi asked. I'm 18 years old. Young people are always impatient, said Baiju. She sighed. Auntie Qiao, do you think we've been trying too hard? I think it's been especially hard for you. Qiao Yi thought. He hated to see the princess struggling. She knew too much and got involved with too many dangerous things. I feel that I have to make a trip to the Heavenly Note sect in the next few days. Otherwise, I won't be able to make it in time. Baiju looked at the sky. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain between her eyebrows. It was because of her fiery luck. However, Jiyu Changsheng did not say anything. It was already October, and Jiyu Changsheng would be out soon. She hoped that he would say something helpful. Just as Baizhu thought about it, she suddenly noticed something. Then, she looked up again. The daytime changed at a terrifying speed in her eyes, and it was instantly covered by the starry sky. A river formed by stars surged over. Baizhu stood up in shock. She saw the galaxy carrying a box. It hurtled through space at a speed she could not understand. The stars gave way to the momentum. In addition, she sensed the stone tablet vibrate. Without hesitation, he drew out the stone tablet. The trail of the galaxy turned toward her. In the next moment, a box fell from the galaxy. It landed steadily in Baizhu's hand. She knew this was the treasure set by Senior Dan Yuan. She suddenly thought of the two golden core experts she had met before. "Let's go," Baizhu said. She did not know what was inside, but she knew that she had to find the two seniors who had gone to the north. This must be something very important. "Where to?" Qiao Yi asked curiously. "To accept my fate and pray to my ancestors." "I hope they'll guide me," said Baizhu. "Aunt Qiao, it's an emergency this time. I'll teleport you." In an instant, Baizhu disappeared with Qiao Yi. When she came back to her senses, Qiao Yi realized that she was already in the air. "Next time, I should let the princess disguise herself as a golden core cultivator. Then, I'll get used to it." Qiao Yi thought and sighed. She was a primordial spirit realm cultivator, but she could not help the princess in any way. She could only go along. It was not her turn to do anything. In the Heavenly Note sect, Jiang Hao looked at the tearful Xiao Li, who had appeared in his courtyard. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Senior brother, are you sick?" Xiao Li asked softly as she tugged at Jiang Hao's clothes. "Why do you ask that?" Jiang Hao asked. "I don't know. I just feel that you are sick, and senior sister is also here." Xiao Li looked at Jiang Hao and Hong Yuye. "I'm not sick," Jiang Hao said. His condition was not because of his illness, but it was fate. Xiao Li stared at him. "What is it?" Jiang Hao asked. "I'm going to stay by you and guard you so that you won't leave me," said Xiao Li stubbornly. "I won't leave you," Jiang Hao said. "My parents said the same thing before they." "I don't believe you," she said and pouted her lips. "Are you hungry?" Jiang Hao asked. "No. I don't want to go and eat right now." "Not at all." Jiang Hao looked at Hong Yuye helplessly. Meanwhile, Hong Yuye rested her chin on one hand and closed her eyes. Jiang Hao sighed and let Xiao Li stay. The next morning, Jiang Hao woke up. His purple energy was still circulating. Xiao Li had fallen asleep beside him. Jiang Hao wanted to laugh. Finally, he sighed and slowly stood up. He had not expected to be able to stand at all. He assumed it would be difficult to even stay awake, but luckily, he felt better. A communication talisman flew to him. Baizhu had arrived in the sect and wanted to see him. That was surprising. "Why are you looking for me?" Jiang Hao thought. Jiang Hao was curious, but it was not easy to get there. His body could not take it. He touched the Archean Abyss Dragon Pearl on his chest and mumbled, "Lend me some strength." He wanted to see Baizhu. She should have news from the gathering. If there was really no other way, he would give the 3 pearls to her and hope she could find someone to handle them. Jiyu Changsheng was behind her after all. If it did not work out, he would give it to Jiyu Jin. Before he died, he had to hand them over to someone. As soon as he finished speaking, the Archean Abyss Dragon Pearl resonated with Xiao Li. The last bit of power flowed into Jiang Hao's body. For a moment, he felt some strength enter his body. Although he was still injured and weak, he could walk a short distance. He did not see Hong Yuye when he woke up. She must have left. I should be able to walk there. But he was not sure. It was impossible to determine how bad his condition was at the moment. He had no choice but to walk over there. After that, he left. After a long time, he arrived at the sect gates. He was calm. Qiao Yi looked at him strangely. Why was everyone at the Golden Core realm? She thought. It's been long, fellow disciple Jiang, said Baizhu in greeting. Jiang Hao greeted her too. Before he could say anything else, she took out a box. "This is for you," said Baizhu. "I was asked to deliver it to whoever had the heavenly extreme dream pearl." "I see." Jiang Hao was surprised. He did not know what the box was about, but he knew that it was not something ordinary. But who had sent it to him? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1073, The Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron. Looking at the box, Jiang Hao was a little lost in thought. He was curious. He was not scared because he had nothing to lose. Only those who still had hope needed to be careful. As for him, he had no hope of surviving, so he had nothing to fear. "Fellow disciple Jiang, let me ask you something." Baizhu looked around. "Do you know anything about the current situation?" Jiang Hao shook his head. "I think you think too highly of me, senior sister. I don't know anything." "Really?" Baizhu felt a little regretful. "Are you okay?" "Me?" Jiang Hao was puzzled. "I mean, is everything okay here?" she asked. Jiang Hao thought for a moment and realized she was asking about the pearls. "Yes," Jiang Hao said. "Do you want it?" Baizhu's face fell, and she took 2 steps back. "That thing belongs to you, fellow disciple. How can someone like me even think of taking it on? It's getting late. Well, leave now. I'll leave the rest to you. That thing might bring you hope." "Hope?" Jiang Hao was surprised. "Is this for real?" He thought she was just here to deliver something but did not know what she meant. Then, he realized that the others at the gathering more or less knew about Jing's situation. "I'll look for you someday once again when I have a chance to come here, fellow disciple Jiang." With that, Baizhu pulled Xiao Yi with her and left quickly. Jiang Hao felt regretful. He had a hard time walking back. Instead, he sat by the river and looked toward his house. He sighed. "It's so difficult to even reach my house." This was the first time he felt that it had been easy to come out of the sect but harder to go back in. If no one helped him, he might not even reach his house before he died. "Senior brother?" Xiao Li ran to him anxiously. "I thought you left." Jiang Hao reached out his hand. "Can you help me back to my house?" After a while, Jiang Hao sat under the peach tree. It was October, and the tree had already borne fruit. Xiao stared at the peaches on the tree. When Jiang Hao said it was okay, she went to pick some peaches. She picked 3 of them. One for herself, one for Jiang Hao, and another for senior sister. However, she did not see the senior sister today. "Where's Beast?" Xiao Li asked. "It went swimming," Jiang Hao said. When Hong Yuye appeared, the spirit beast had disappeared. It was probably hurled into the river. Jiang Hao took out the box and slowly opened it. There was no aura or light appearing from it. There was a small ancient cauldron inside. There were some patterns on it. It was engraved with runes of the mountains and seas. The edges were a little rusty. "What is this?" He could not tell. He immediately appraised it. Since it was from the gathering, it was bound to be something extraordinary. Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron, the supreme treasure of the Mountain Sea Sword sect. It is a divine item of all spirits. The first person with great luck in ancient times sensed that a great calamity would befall the world. He used the will of all living beings to fuse with the mountains and seas and forged the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron. It absorbed endless years of merit. In every era, the person who held it was bound to be a person with great luck. It can break all evil and suppress the karma of heaven and earth. It had been hidden for countless years and was discovered by the Mountain Sea Sword sect, which has carved a mark of the way of the sword. Only those recognized by them can use it. In order to obtain the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron, several experts forcefully broke the mark. The mark will automatically be replenished upon contact with the Shenyuan sword. It can be used to comprehend the power of the heavenly extreme pearl. Suppress the karma of the world. Jiang Hao looked at the cauldron in disbelief. Could it be used to cure his condition? But he would have to use great luck and power. How could he do that? At the 100 Flowers Lake, Hong Yuye asked Baizhi, Is there any news? Yes. I found something. Baiji lowered her head. The Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron is in the Mountain Sea Sword sect in the north. It's their divine item. The Desolate Sea Pearl is in the eastern heavenly abyss. So, none of them are in the south, Hong Yuye said. Yes. Maybe if we contact the people in the north, Baiji suggested. Hong Yuye lowered her head and said nothing. She suddenly sensed something and looked into the distance. Then, she disappeared. Baiji was a little flustered as she watched the sect master leave. She did not know if the situation was very bad. In the courtyard, Jiang Hao was still trying to figure out how to use the cauldron when smelled a familiar scent. Hong Yuye appeared right in front of him. Where did you get that? She asked as she took the cauldron from him. A woman named Baiju gave it to me. She said she was asked to deliver it here by someone else, said Jiang Hao. He also mentioned Wen Xiu and Sai Cheng. He suspected that they were behind this. Since they did not know how to get it to him, they sent it through Senior Dan Yuan. In the end, Baiju was tasked with delivering it here. It seems that many people are helping you, Hong Yuye said. Thank you, Senior, Jiang Hao said. Without Hong Yuye, none of these people would have known about him. A red aura covered the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron. Then, the rust disappeared, and a golden light appeared from within. The cauldron slowly flew up and hovered above Jiang Hao's head. At that moment, she tapped on Jiang Hao's forehead. In an instant, Jiang Hao felt the golden light cover his eyes. Then, he lost consciousness. In a blur, he felt a golden light surrounding his body. The purple energy and the golden light resonated with each other and healed his body. However, another force was destroying it. Fortunately, the golden light was vast. It suppressed the destructive power. His primordial spirit was also covered with the golden light. He felt much better for a moment. Jiang Hao felt as if he had spent a long time resting his feet. When he opened his eyes, he found himself slumped over the table. Hong Yuye was pouring a cup of tea. Senior brother Jiang, you're awake. You scared me to death. Xiao Li heaved a sigh of relief. Jiang Hao felt relaxed and rested. However, his strength had not fully recovered. He could feel that only a portion of it was back. After sending Xiao Li away, Jiang Hao stood up. Thank you, Senior. Although he had yet to appraise his own condition, he knew he was much better now. He would be able to survive. As long as he had time, he had hope. You should thank the person who sent you the cauldron, said Hong Yuye. It seems that it was never used before. The Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron was a divine item owned by a legendary figure of ancient times. In the end, no one used it besides them. Jiang Hao sighed. At the Hidden Cloud Prefecture, Baiju was sitting in a courtyard. She grabbed a handful of peanuts and threw them into a teapot. Every single one of them found the teapot. She was in despair. She did it again. Suddenly, there was a sudden bang. The peanut knocked against the teapot and fell out. She was stunned for a moment before she threw another handful. She was quite happy and threw 2 or 3 more. Not one peanut landed in the teapot. In an instant, she jumped up in joy. She ran outside. Qiao Yi was cleaning outside. Suddenly, Baiju ran and hugged Qiao Yi. It's no more, she squealed in joy. Auntie Qiao, it's gone, it's gone. Qiao Yi sighed in relief. She was still a bit disappointed that despite being in the primordial spirit realm, she could not be of any help. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1074, The Demoness wants to take a bath at the Heavenly Note sect. Jiang Hao removed the Phantom Inheritance Talisman. At that moment, the state recorded by the Phantom Talisman was far inferior to his original state. He looked a little pale, but it was normal. He had almost recovered completely. His strength was still a little lacking, but it was much, much better than before. It made a world of difference. At that moment, he thought of the rusted Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron. He realized that the cauldron was in the center of his forehead for some reason. Power and luck kept pouring out of it. He had reached a balance with the karma vortex. But he was still amazed that Hong Yuye had appeared so fast. He had not done anything at all. How had she sensed it? He felt that he had to be very careful from now on. What kind of treasure is this? Jiang Hao asked. Hong Yuye was drinking tea. She was back to her usual indifferent self. Although nothing seemed to have changed, it felt like everything was different. The Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron. Hong Yuye sipped her tea. Rumor has it that it was forged by a great senior. He received the highest favor in the world. On the day he received it, no one knew what he used it for. It is said that he made a decision to save the world from some disaster. Although no one knew what disaster it was, everyone believed the great senior. That was how the cauldron came into being. Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao. There is a huge amount of merit and luck inside, but for you, that is still not enough. You don't have much time. The fortune and merit accumulated through numerous years may only be enough to sustain you for about 20 years. The vortex made by the 3 dangerous pearls isn't a joke. One person holding all these pearls, even the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron can't compare to that. 20 years? Jiang Hao asked. 20 years was a long time. He could improve his cultivation realm in 20 years, so he should be able to buy more time. As long as he was strong enough, he could break the karma vortex. In addition, he had the Mountain Sea Seal. He wondered if it could be used to strengthen the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron. If it was useful, then the most important thing for him to do was to digest the Holy Master's divine soul to make it stronger. He had to find Mingyi to get the divine soul. Digesting it required a lot of spirit stones. He had to sell some of his things. Is 20 years enough for you to advance to the primordial spirit realm? Hong Yuye asked. It should be enough. Jiang Hao nodded. Hong Yuye chuckled. Your sect doesn't seem to value you much. Senior, you must be joking. I'm currently a candidate for the seat of the top disciple. I'm a little bit important, he said. After that, he drank his tea. Hong Yuye looked at him and then at the peach tree. It's time for another incarnation? Yes. The last one. Jiang Hao nodded. When can you go through with it? I need some more time, said Jiang Hao. The incarnation of the immortal peach tree was a complicated matter. There was always a possibility of failure. If he had enough divine items, the rate of success would be higher. Even if he succeeded, he still had to face another problem. It would not bear fruit in a short period of time. Xiao Li would probably be very disappointed. Hong Yuye sipped her tea. Her eyes were devoid of emotion. After a while, she slowly put down the teacup. Go prepare the bath. Jiang Hao did not dare hesitate. He no longer felt as though he was going to collapse. When he was done preparing the water and flower petals, he walked out to tell her. Xiao Li was no longer there. She might have gone back. Hong Yuye stood up and walked to the bathroom. She told Jiang Hao to wait outside. Jiang Hao, who was sitting at the door, waited. When he felt she was in the tub, he appraised his condition. Status: the Heaven Extinction GU Poison and Hong Yuye's One Heart Palm are simultaneously involved in the karma vortex of the Heavenly Fate Misfortune Pearl, the Earth Extreme Silent Pearl, and the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl. At the same time, with the vast luck of the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron, it can maintain balance with the karma vortex. If the merit is exhausted after 23 years, the Mountain Sea Seal can strengthen the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron. 23 years. Jiang Hao felt that the luck from the Merit Cauldron was pouring like water. With such huge consumption, he was worried that it would not last so long. He did not think it would last up to 23 years. Fortunately, the Mountain Sea Seal was of some use. In other words, I'm still plagued by bad luck, but great luck will help me stall for time. He felt that the cauldron was impressive if it could stave off the effect of the 3 pearls at the same time. It was a pity that he had not wiped it clean. Jiang Hao was not in a hurry. Instead, he decided to test his aura and see what the upper limit of his power was. He was only left with a portion of his strength, after all. He condensed a power ball in his palm and finally tested out the early stage of the Immortal Ascension platform. Fortunately, I can still fight with the Holy Master. With the Heavenly Extreme Dream Pearl and the Mountain Sea Seal, there should be no problem with the Immortal Ascension platform. He just did not know how to recover completely. If he advanced, he might be able to do that. Then, Jiang Hao checked his interface. Name, Jiang Hao, age, 43, cultivation. First stage of the Immortal Ascension platform, cultivation method, Heavenly Sound 100 revolutions, Hongmeng Heart Sutra, divine ability, 9 revolutions death substitution, unique, daily appraisal, clear and pure heart, reappearance of hidden spirit, divine might, revival of withered tree, heavenly cauldron, indestructible Vaja, myriad nature forest, lifeblood, 24-100, can be cultivated, cultivation, 24-100, can be cultivated, divine abilities. 03, cannot be obtained, am still too far from advancing. The most important thing right now is to upgrade the Mountain Sea Seal. Once I digest the 2 divine souls of the Holy Master, I might be able to improve my condition a lot. If it was just the Mountain Sea Seal, it would definitely be useless. However, it was different when it was combined with the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron. It could strengthen the cauldron by a lot. Maybe in a few years, he could come up with a solution. That way, he would have more time. Raising his cultivation should also delay the misfortune by a lot. Once he became an immortal, it would be even easier. But it would be much more difficult to become an immortal in this condition. There was no hurry. After that, Jiang Hao began to check how many treasures he had and how many he needed to sell to make around 1,250,000 spirit stones. He was not sure if he could earn that much even if he sold all the treasures he had unless he could sell some important treasures somewhere else. He could sell the pickaxes he forged. But he doubted if he could find anyone to buy them all. However, as he searched in his storage treasure, he found something. He was curious. If he allowed someone to take away his current misfortune, would it break the balance he had achieved with the karma vortex? If the balance was broken, would the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron stop working? After hesitating for a long time, he knocked on the door. "What is it?" asked a voice from the inside. "I have a question, Senior. If there is a magic treasure that can take away a trace of misfortune from a person, will it help or break down the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron?" Jiang Hao asked. There was only silence on the inside. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1075. Can I become an immortal? Jiang Hao felt a little strange. He did not know if he could go inside. There was only silence. After hesitating for a moment, he pushed the door open. He lowered his head and walked in. He did not dare to look. However, the screen covered the tub, so he did not see her. After sitting down with his back facing the screen, Jiang Hao asked, "Senior, do you think that could work? Do you have a magic treasure that can take away luck or misfortune?" Hong Yuye asked. There was a sound of water splashing in the tub. He could hear her properly here. Her voice had been distant and unclear when he was outside the door. "I do have one, but I don't know if it's useful," Jiang Hao said. He had picked up such a magic treasure a long time ago. It was the 6-faced dice, and it was a Dharma treasure. When one used the treasure, it absorbed a portion of that person's fate. For that price, the user would gain a new appearance. It was the perfect disguise. This was almost the result of the appraisal. When he first obtained the magic treasure, he thought the owner of such a treasure was not an ordinary person. He had never dared to use it, but he wanted to try. He just did not know if the treasure could be used to extract misfortune. If he could, what effect would it have? Hong Yuye was silent for a moment. "You want to use it?" "I want to see if I can draw away a portion of the bad luck with it," Jiang Hao said. "It can," said Hong Yuye. "Will there be any consequences? Would it affect future luck or the Mountain Sea Merit Cauldron?" Jiang Hao asked. He was worried that it would cause unnecessary trouble and affect the cauldron in a bad way. That treasure doesn't cause bad luck. It just absorbs it as a price. "It won't affect anything," she said. "The owner of the magic treasure might not like you very much for it, but you can try. That thing is somewhat similar to the stone tablet." Jiang Hao was surprised. Hong Yuye had been searching for the person behind the stone tablets for a long time. Perhaps she could find some clues through this treasure. Will we be discovered for using it? Jiang Hao asked. Experts could sense these things. The fallen immortal clan always tried to spy on him. They'll only have a general idea of the location but not much, said Hong Yuye. Jiang Hao felt much more at ease. That meant he could give it a try. Senior, do you think I can become an immortal? Jiang Hao asked after a moment of hesitation. Aren't you at the Golden Core realm right now? Asked Hong Yuye. You want to become an immortal? I want to know what it feels like to make it to that realm, he said. You could have become an immortal, but it's different now, said Hong Yuye. Jiang Hao heard the water splash in the tub. He knew Hong Yuye was washing herself. He did not think about it. Why is it different now, senior? He asked. Because of the karma vortex. Do you think you're the same as before? Hong Yuye asked. Jiang Hao shook his head. If the balance was suddenly broken during the advancement, he would be in danger. He could die on the spot, let alone become an immortal. It was indeed much harder to become an immortal. Is there any other way? Jiang Hao asked. Strengthen the mountain sea merit cauldron. It's best to have luck on your side when you become an immortal, said Hong Yuye. Jiang Hao thought of the person with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment. Becoming an immortal at the same time as having the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment might be huge. It would take at least 200 years for the one with the Heavenly Tao Foundation establishment to become an immortal. She had that much time, but he did not. The Grand Earth Emperor might be able to do it, but Shenyuan Tai was not ready yet. He could only wait. He just had to try his best. It would take a long time to become an immortal. Jiang Hao held the six-faced dice. Senior, should I give it a try? Hong Yuye did not speak. That usually meant he could go ahead. Jiang Hao transformed into smiling San Sheng first. Then, he used the Heavenly Secret's hidden talisman. He also activated the Leaf of Concealment. Only then could he use the dice. He flipped the dice and felt the misfortune on his body ripple. A little of it might have been taken away. When the dice landed on the floor, it turned to the number 5. Immediately after, the figure of a young girl appeared on it. If Jiang Hao wanted, he could transform into that young girl. Jiang Hao really did not want to do it. In the end, he reached out and picked up the dice. When he tried doing it again, he could not use it. It seemed that he could only use it once a day. There was one more thing to add to his daily routine. The water splashed in the tub. Hong Yuye was coming out of the water. Jiang Hao stopped thinking about it. A moment later, a red shadow flashed behind him. The door opened and closed again. Hong Yuye had gone out. Jiang Hao heaved a sigh of relief and went to the second floor. Hong Yuye was already resting on his bed. On the balcony, Jiang Hao sat down and looked into the distance. The sky had darkened. The stars in the sky twinkled. In a trance, Jiang Hao thought of his life. He had faced many things but had never been in real danger. This time, he only had 20 years to live if he could not come up with a solution. He could not help but laugh at himself. I was greedy. At least he could survive for a little while longer. He had a little hope. If he could become an immortal in 20 years, he would have even more time. Who could see the future? As long as he did his best to survive, anything could happen. After a while, Jiang Hao closed his eyes. It was unreal to have beaten death by a hair's breadth. He needed to calm his mind. At the very least, he felt the firm ground under him. All he could do was take one step after another. When he closed his eyes, he felt the immortal aura hidden in his body loosening, as if it was about to spread out. If there were no accidents, he could become an immortal soon. However, it was only right for him to be cautious. Life was never fair. It would be strange if he went through life without problems. He felt calm. He could hear the sound of the wind and the chirping of insects around him. When the chirping went silent, Jiang Hao felt the warmth of the rising sun. When he opened her eyes, the sky was brightening. The sun rose from the east. Jiang Hao slowly stood up. A new day, he felt delighted. He did not know if it was because he had a close brush with death, but everything felt full of life and hope. Jiang Hao reached out his hand and circulated his spiritual energy. Boundless energy surged toward him. This is indeed different. Is it because the world is reeling me in again? Or is it because of the mountain sea merit cauldron? He thought. Jiang Hao realized that he was indeed a little different from before. However, his strength had yet to recover to its full peak. This is enough for me. Although his path would be more difficult than before, he at least felt at ease knowing he could feel the ground under his feet. At that moment, he felt the stone tablet vibrate. The gathering was finally here. Jiang Hao sighed as he looked at the stone tablet. I owe you a big favor. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1076. Becoming an Immortal Together with the 12 Heavenly Kings. 1. The people at the stone tablet usually had their own matters to attend to, especially Gui, who had things to deliver. Jiang Hao did not mind. He could just go in when the time came. However, there was one thing that he had forgotten because he had been too anxious. He gave the dragon egg to Shenyuan Tai, but he did not keep the eggshells. He needed to get them, but he did not know how. Maybe he could ask Gui. She could easily go to the Black Heaven sect. He was not sure if the dragon had hatched. Jiang Hao also wondered whether Shenyuan Tai was safe from the incident. When he entered the new world, Shenyuan Tai might have gotten involved. Jiang Hao was still struggling from the after effects of it. Shenyuan Tai had only been at the Soul Ascension realm. Even with the Shenyuan sword, it would be extremely difficult to stay safe. Jiang Hao looked into the room. Hong Yuye was no longer there. He wondered when she had left. Jiang Hao heaved a sigh of relief. He could not do many things when she was here. He did not want to think about anything else for now. He looked at the mountain sea merit cauldron. When he took out the cauldron, the surrounding space was covered with power. Fortunately, it did not overflow. Otherwise, it would be such a waste. However, as he watched the boundless merit in the cauldron flow into his body, Jiang Hao really doubted if he could last for 23 years. Shaking his head, Jiang Hao let it slide. He placed the mountain sea seal on the mountain sea merit cauldron. There was a vibration. In an instant, the mark merged into the merit cauldron. A wisp of purple gas surrounded the cauldron. There seemed to be a slight improvement. It was barely noticeable, but it was there. It was not of much use. However, he could always use the mountain and sea seal. In the morning, Jiang Hao heaved a sigh of relief. At that moment, the aura around the cauldron got even more intense. He could take it slow. After watering the heavenly fragrance Dao flower, Jiang Hao sat down cross-legged on the ground. He began to examine the merit cauldron to see if there was any dust on it. The rust was gone, but he could still try to clean it. Jiang Hao took out a rag and cleaned it. After all, it was a divine item. Then, he wiped the palm-sized cauldron bit by bit. Jiang Hao was not sure if he could find any bubbles. However, just as he wiped it, several bubbles fell. Cultivation +1, lifeblood +1, cultivation +1, 6 blue bubbles appeared in one breath. Jiang Hao was dumbfounded. He had never seen so many bubbles before. How many times could this cauldron be wiped? Maybe he could wipe it 4 or 5 times to get all the bubbles. For a moment, he wished he could enlarge it and wipe it more. Jiang Hao continued wiping it. A second set of bubbles appeared. They were all blue bubbles. Cultivation +1, lifeblood +1, he wiped it 5 times in a row and got a total of 28 blue bubbles. After that, there was no more. No matter how hard he tried, there was nothing. Jiang Hao felt that it was a pity that he could not get more bubbles. If he could wipe it 10 more times, he would be closer to advancing. If the rust was still there, I could have gotten more bubbles. There was only dust. However, it was enough. He had to dedicate his time to earn as many spirit stones as possible. He had 190,000 spirit stones. If he could gather 250,000 spirit stones, he would be able to absorb the remaining Holy Master's divine soul in its entirety. He needed 60,000 spirit stones. Jiang Hao went to the Snow Lotus Pavilion. He sold all the September spring he had bought before. He raised 60,000 easily. Fortunately, he had a lot of other types of tea leaves with him. There were still a lot of valuable tea leaves that he could sell in the future. He should be able to gather around 200,000 spirit stones soon. As for the rest, he would think of a way. If he had not bought a lot of tea leaves because Hong Yuye had visited him frequently, he could have saved more spirit stones. He returned to his house. Jiang Hao drew a formation and placed the remaining divine soul of the Holy Master inside it. He threw 25 spirit stones into it. Jiang Hao began to circulate the mountain sea seal. After a while, the divine soul disappeared completely. The mountain sea seal possessed immense power. The power of the mountains and seas was condensed into a corporeal form. When the mark entered the cauldron, there were more marks of purple energy there than before. This was because of the divine soul. At that moment, the purple energy covering the cauldron was as thin as a strand of hair. As long as he kept using the mark carefully, it would flow smoothly. At that moment, his mountain sea seal was unleashed, and it was vast. An ordinary expert would not be able to withstand something like that. There isn't much time left. Jiang Hao thought. He thought of the unfinished task he had. He owed Gui a huge favor. Xing owed him a reward in return. There was nothing else. Zhong was okay with waiting. Man Jiyu would be returning soon. He had been away for a long time. At midnight, the gathering began. This time, Jiang Hao entered the stone tablet without a problem. The mountain sea merit cauldron's influence did not come along with him. As soon as he entered the public area, Jiang Hao sensed several gazes on him. Everyone was staring at him. It was probably because he was absent last time. After greeting Senior Dan Yuan, everyone sat down cross-legged on the floor. They conversed under the starry sky. "Is there a problem with your cultivation?" Dan Yuan asked. Xing raised a question about the immortals. "Senior, do you think it's better to become an immortal yourself or to become an immortal with the help of other people's opportunities?" The others were also curious about the question. Liu and Gui listened quietly. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1077, Becoming an Immortal Together with the 12 Heavenly Kings? 2. Even Jiang Hao was curious. Borrowing an opportunity was a peaceful and easy option. He and Zhong had become immortals in a similar manner. Was there a difference? Dan Yuan was silent for a moment. That has been a topic for debate for years. Some people feel that immortals who advance by chance are not strong enough. Many people tend to become immortals by themselves. Only then can they walk out of the great Tao. Dan Yuan looked at the people below and said with a smile, "What do you all think?" "I think it's better to become stronger step by step," said Gui. Liu thought for a moment. "If I have the opportunity to become one, I will take that. It's much easier and my energy will be better utilized to become stronger if it is aided by an opportunity." At that moment, Xing said, "Becoming an immortal is more like breaking open the immortal path by yourself. Becoming an immortal by chance is like someone helping to open the immortal path." "Zhong, what do you think?" Dan Yuan asked. "The difference shouldn't be too big," said Zhong. "Immortals are immortals anyway." Dan Yuan nodded and smiled. "Immortals are immortals. It doesn't matter how you become one. What's important is how you use your power after becoming an immortal. It also depends on your mental state. At the end of the day, you walk your path alone. It becomes harder to break through and advance further after becoming an immortal, but it's not impossible. That's all." Jiang Hao understood that becoming an immortal was like stepping into a whole new cultivation world. It did not matter how they became an immortal. What was important was what they did after becoming one. Since Xing had brought up the question, he must have encountered something. He was wondering if he should avail that opportunity too. Some people would go to any extent to become an immortal. There would be other opportunities, but they were rare. Jiang Hao understood why it was so important. It was a world of difference between being an immortal and an ordinary cultivator. He looked at the people in this gathering. They were all geniuses with outstanding talent. What's wrong? Dan Yuan looked at Jing. Do you have any questions? What does the owner of that thing want in return? Jiang Hao asked. Since he had taken the cauldron, he naturally had to pay the price. Dan Yuan smiled when he heard that. The item belongs to the Mountain Seasword sect in the north. If they ask for the price to be paid one day, I'll tell you immediately, friend Jing. Is that all right? Jiang Hao nodded. He realized that Dan Yuan was always serious about his job. He could be trusted. If there was no request from the other hand, he would not have to worry about it. That was good news. The others were curious about what Jing had received, but they did not ask. Do you have any news about the ancient lands? Dan Yuan asked. The others shook their heads. It was their first time hearing about it. How could they have any news about the ancient lands? Gui thought for a moment but did not say anything. She could ask about it later. At the Black Heaven sect, the news spread that Smiling San Sheng had exchanged a dragon egg to borrow the Shenyuan sword for a while. That dragon egg had hatched too. There was a true dragon in the Black Heaven sect. The ancient lands were the dragon clan's place, and as the descendant of the dragon clan, the true dragon might somehow be related to it. Jiang Hao was interested in the dragon clan but not the ancient lands. The most important thing for him to focus on was still his condition. The other problems could wait. He did not need to worry about other things too much. After that was the trading segment. Jiang Hao noticed that everyone was quiet. No one had anything to trade. So, they skipped it and moved to talking among themselves. Fellow disciple Jing, is the heavenly extreme dream pearl still in your hands now? Gui asked. The others all looked at him. Jiang Hao realized that everyone had been waiting for this moment. The trading segment was not important. It's in my hands, he said. Everyone was shocked. Although they had guessed it, they still could not help feeling shocked. What happened? Gui asked. The others felt relieved. Gui was indispensable for the gathering. She always asked the right questions. Jiang Hao said calmly, the heavenly extreme dream pearl brought about something called the New World. There was a guardian named Long Tian. He can control the New World. The human emperor's palace suppressed him. Jiang Hao did not explain further. Gui and the others guessed the rest. The human emperor's palace had lent power to suppress the New World, so Jing was given a chance. Then, did it affect your condition? Gui asked. Jiang Hao nodded. It seems that if you hold more than 2 powerful items together, you suffer the consequences. I can give one of the pearls to you. Everyone was speechless. Everyone understood that the 3 pearls had reacted and caused problems. Gui and the others did not want to do anything with those pearls. They did not want to collect ill-fated things like Jiang Hao. They wanted to live. So, 2 pearls are with you, and the other one is with Jiang Hao? Xing asked. Jiang Hao said, only sometimes. The others were puzzled. After all, there was still the matter with Smiling San Sheng. No one tried to ask for more details. After the incident with the Dragon Cave and the Heavenly Spirit Tribe, only the Great Thousand God Sect and the 12 Heavenly Kings were active in their plan. The people of the Great Thousand God Sect headed to the south. The important members should be there now. The 12 Heavenly Kings are working hard to become immortals too. I heard they want to give it their all. I heard that one of the Heavenly Kings is still in the Heavenly Note sect, right? Gui asked. Yes. Liu smiled. Heavenly King Hai is in the Heavenly Note sect and refuses to come out of there. The other 11 kings are trying to take his seat so they can proceed. It might be difficult for them with one of the kings missing, but they are still willing to try to become immortals. If it is impossible to do so, they might try convincing King Hai Luo again. The 12 heavenly kings were powerful, but with Hai Luo acting out, their status had taken significant damage. It made people feel that the 12 heavenly kings were not that impressive after all. They looked down on Hai Luo because he was trying to throw his life away just for a woman. Heavenly King Hai Luo was considered the worst among the heavenly kings. Jiang Hao felt the same. Heavenly King Mu Longyu was always diplomatic and impressive, especially when compared to King Hai Luo. However, it was not easy for the 12 heavenly kings to become immortals. After all, the heavenly kings had great luck and were connected to the 12 sea areas. It was almost impossible for them to break through to the immortal ascension platform with one missing. Jiang Hao lowered his head in thought. The fate of the 12 heavenly kings, he needed a similar fortune to become an immortal. He could not afford to wait. The 12 heavenly kings could have become immortals long ago. He wondered if their power could help him advance. Perhaps he could advance along with the 12 kings. But it seemed that it was even harder for the 12 heavenly kings to become immortals than him. He could ask around to find out more. Hong Yuye always had an answer to everything. After that, Gui talked about some things happening in the south. Most of them were about the rise of the Black Heaven sect. If the sect was given another few decades, they might be on par with the Heavenly Gate sect. In another 100 or 200 years, they could even surpass the Heavenly Gate sect. Xing talked about the situation of the fallen immortal clan. The Bright Moon sect had discovered their location. They were busy fleeing and had no time to pull another stunt. Zhong told them that the Mountain Sea Sword sect in the north had been involved in a huge fight. Someone from the Astronomical Academy had rushed over to help. After that, they talked about other trivial things before the gathering ended. Jiang Hao knew that Gui had delivered the letter. He had wanted to find some saint bandits for her. Unfortunately, he was too late. Liu had already found them for her, and he had been absent from the last gathering. Jiang Hao decided to go to Lawless Tower tomorrow. Last time, Yang Shong had been confident that she had Jiang Hao under her control. This time, maybe she would think twice. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning into the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.